Let's go over the basics of the Division Designer, the very basics. So if you go to the Recruit and Deploy tab, click that, you have the Division Designer button at the top under Templates. You can also open up the Division Designer by hitting Edit on one of these different templates here along the side that we use for training. If you click Division Designer at the top, the default division that opens will be the top one in that list. The first drop down in the top on the middle allows you to switch between your different templates, or you can click Create Empty, and then this drop down below it is just for the naming. If you're going for something historical, you might choose a specific naming convention. On the right side of these drop downs, you can see equipment. Let me add a battalion so that that becomes clickable. Now if I click that, you can see I have heavy tank options because I added heavy tank. I can specify exactly which type of heavy tanks I would like this division to use. Since they're all checked, it'll take anything from the inventory. If I uncheck these two, it will not pull those from my supplies. And you can also see that captured equipment from capitulated nations is shown here too. And then at the top is kind of a quick sort on that. If you can see that if I uncheck allow foreign equipment, these two tanks that were captured drop off. So let's close that and talk about these three buttons below equipment. That's a much faster, quicker way of doing what I was doing with the equipment. You can hit reserves and it will give this division the older equipment. Default is middle of the line, or it should say it'll give up the newer stuff, however only after elite units, which is the button on the right, after the elite units have their fill. On the left side here, you can change the symbol that you see here in the division when we look at it to kind of denote what it is. And then you can also change this model that's used on the map. So getting into the meat of this, your division is made up of 1 column of support and 5 columns of combat. If you choose to use all of them, you don't have to use all of it. I'm going to switch this down to the basic one, and for support, you can see that there are a lot of options. In this case, that's because I'm deep into the game and I have everything researched under support companies. You need to research at least level 1 to unlock it in the Division Designer. Flame tanks here, those are special in that you have to research Engineer Company 2 to unlock their development in the Tank Designer. When you select support companies, what you select will be dependent upon what you're trying to do with it. If you're trying to make a division that holds the front line, you're probably going to want the engineer company. Mousing over it and letting the tooltip fully populate, you see that it gives you a lot of defense bonuses. And then you may also want field hospital because it decreases experience loss. And looking at the tooltip, you can see how it's also useful when you're on the attack. Logistics and maintenance are great for tank companies, and support anti-air is in single player just kind of the basic thing you want on every single one of your companies because it kind of negates enemy air superiority and you tend to underproduce planes in single player. So going back to The designer, you can see the combat has 5 columns. When you select the first battalion on a column, you're going to choose whether it's armored, mobile, or infantry. So if we choose armored, then you can see that all these armored options are available, and they depend upon what you have produced. If you select mobile, you can see that we have our cavalry, motorized infantry, and all of the truck-drawn artillery and anti-tank, etc. So let's choose a couple of these. So having motorized, we can see there's a max speed of 12 kilometers per hour. Let's add in a tank. The light tank is also 12 kilometers per hour. And now let's add in some straight infantry. And all of a sudden the max speed of the division designer drops down to 4 kilometers per hour. Your division is only going to be as fast as the slowest unit. One last thing to note is when we look at this and you see all of these options, those are all unlocked by researching the different artillery trees. And then if you go under infantry, down at the bottom, you find your Marines, paratroopers, mountain, and special forces. So we'll get into how you relate the infantry designer to battle bubbles in a later video.